Welcome to Nonsense Season 4, Episode 3, our big story and our second show of the week. I'm Jeff Parker.
I'm Stittle.
This time we're looking at AI's impact on employment and wealth. Up next.
Do you feel like AI is this giant meteor that's going to come crash to Earth, or do you look at it as like the sun, just providing us with energy and like giving us fuel for our life force? How do you view
Neither.
it?
Absolutely
Really?
neither. I look at it as the sun, but boy, it's just not quite close enough to the planet and I'm freezing. Can it get here a little quicker?
Sure.
No, AI is a tool. That's all it is.
AI
it's
is
nothing more. It's nothing
is
less.
an amazing tool. I agree with you. This is going to be an excellent episode.
I'm not even sure it's amazing yet. I'm waiting for the amazing part.
I agree with you on that. I think it's got a long way to go, but you can already see. I mean, the internet was not amazing when it first came out. You're like, but I see the same thing with AI, just much faster. That's what's nuts to me is the rate of change and how much faster you're seeing those.
I have seen aspects of AI. I've seen AI affect certain areas like coding where it truly is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty gobsmacked at the quality of the coding and how fast it's gotten to be the quality that it is now. That part's incredible. But there are other things where it's just like, wow, this is just not moving quickly.
Is AI going to make us richer or poorer?
Yes.
Like poor?
The answer is yes. Oh. In aggregate, if you look at average per capita, it will all go up. But average means nothing. What you ought to look at is median.
Median, of course.
Median GDP. That's the number you actually care about. That number could potentially go down.
I love it. I'm excited about this. Okay, let's figure out how we're all going to lose our jobs now.
Okay, how AI disrupts jobs. Let's go.
Disrupts is a big word for takes.
In 2026, AI is no longer a future threat. It's an active economic engine. While it automates nearly 70% of routine office tasks, the disruption is more nuanced than mass unemployment. We are seeing a junior crisis where entry-level roles in coding, law, and accounting are hollowed out by agentic AI. However, this efficiency fuels a net gain of 78 million jobs by 2030, shifting humans from doers to orchestrators. Wealth, however, remains a flashpoint. As productivity skyrockets, gains disproportionately accrue to capital owners and AI-fluent super users, threatening to widen the global inequality gap. The 2026 landscape is a high-stakes transition, a world where expertise is cheap, but human judgment and creative strategy have never been more expensive. Now, I think this should be like a free-for-all conversation where we just let it go wherever it goes. Whatever comes out, comes out.
Well, you got the right guy for the job.
I thought so.
Oh, boy. No rules? Oh, let's go.
Okay.
This is going to be a disaster. Like, if anything shiny happens to float into the room while we're in here, we are doomed, because you and I will just be like, look at that over there. I wonder, is that a chemtrail? Is that a cutter? Where's that plane going? And I got flight radar out and we're looking where the plane's going. Yeah, we're going to be just fine.
And that's how the AI episode came to be about dogs.
Literally, the AI listening to us is going to be like, these guys are going to be very easy to replace. I feel like
this is not a high bar.
Give me a harder. Give me something hard. Come on. Fascinating. Obviously, there's a lot of people talking about this. I feel like there's a lot of elements here to unpack. There's a couple there you highlighted, specifically the quote junior crisis, thinking about what value humans bring. But there's so many things here to talk about that are interesting.
Can I start us off?
Please.
Most of what I see when I see YouTube videos about this, when I see news report, it's all fear and terror and the future is coming and there'll be no jobs. It's an apocalypse. And that's just not my point of view at all.
Yes.
AI will literally make us more wealthy, period.
Yes.
Full stop.
It's really interesting to think about it, because I agree with you on this, by the way. It all feels like FUD, right? It's this fear. There's uncertainty. We have so much doubt about the future. And I also understand that you want to gather clicks and you want people to click on your thing or listen to your thing. So that's more exciting. But then I get into the messaging, and the messaging is still the same. They're just like, well, all these things are going to go away. And that's the end. You know, like you listener can infer from this what you want, but you probably are going to infer that the world is over and everything collapses on itself.
It's not true.
It's not only
it's not even close to true. Our productivity goes up.
But before you even get to that, though, what's crazy to me about it is just how much it seems to be catering to, or making this presumption, probably accurately, that folks are so much of Luddites, that they don't understand tech. And that seems to be the case. That kind of surprised me.
But a lot of people don't.
Because a lot of people don't. And I think it's this gap for me that I struggle with, which is there was, especially when you and I were sort of coming of age with technology, if you used technology, you had to know technology.
Correct.
There was no way around that. Now you can use technology and have no idea how it works, right? Magic box with lights. And I think that's been hard for me to wrap my brain around, because for me, I'm like, well, look, you use your phone, you're using a very advanced piece of computation in your pocket. You must know technology. And I'm like, you're watching cat videos on YouTube. Like there's no...
Oh, sure.
There's no mastermind there.
My child is an excellent programmer, and he's an excellent AI programmer.
Yeah.
But he does not understand the intricacies of the hardware inside the computer.
Yeah.
When I grew up, you had to understand how exactly all of the little parts in the computer.
Great point.
A lot of my friends' fathers were some of the inventors of some of that stuff. So it was never like a mysterious thing. It was always like, the reason we're inventing this is because this blows. This is awful. Or we have to make this so it works better. And by the way, they only took it to the point, if you're afraid of AI, they only took it to the point where it just barely works.
Yeah, that was.
And then we all moved on to other problems.
That was Moore's original postulate right there, was we only invented this because this blows. A lot of people don't know that, but that was 100%. His original. Yeah, the Moore blows postulate.
Making computers out of giant vacuum tubes. Yeah. This blows. This is terrible.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how hardware has been so pressed down into like a singular direction moving forward. There are no real, like the vacuum tube, the transistor advancement was a massive jump.
Yeah.
Now we have a whole bunch of little tiny jumps. Not to dismiss what the fine folks at NVIDIA have done, but it's still kind of the same thing, just packaged up. They took a different approach, right? It's packaged a little differently, but it's still a bunch of transistors on a chip, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm not trying to discount that, but what my point is, software is making the bigger change.
The big change was from vacuum tube to transistor, and then going from cores to CUDA cores. That was a huge change.
The point, I'm lost in my own analogy here, big surprise. My point is the big changes are coming in software. You can be, I would argue, if you're going to be a good software engineer or someone who makes the big changes in software, you probably have to not know or forget about the hardware because you don't have the brain space for it.
Right. Like, that's exactly right. You don't have time to know everything. So you need to focus on the things that you need to know.
You and I were trying to match timing of, single megabyte DIMM strips to fit into our machines. That world is all gone. It's completely commoditized. I mean, most machines you buy now, the memory is literally soldered on the machine, which is something you and I would still be like, what? No, don't do that. That's not what you want.
I'm still a little old school on that, but yes.
I'm fine with it because,
speed.
Up until 6 months ago, I was fine with it because, speed.
Exactly.
And also because you just bought the machine that was going to last you for 2 or 3 years and you were buying a new one anyway to stay relevant.
Sure.
So you're like, okay, or 5 years or whatever you're going to get from it. Now that memory costs more than unicorn tears, now it's like, oh, wait, that you can't really do that anymore. But that's a whole nother episode that we should totally do. Back on AI. Okay, so you mentioned a whole bunch of things.
Yes.
I agree with you certainly that and in research for this episode, it does seem like the vast majority, if not damn near all of the content that's out there is all in fear and uncertainty. It's all in these doomsday propositions. AI is going to replace all these jobs.
AI will be a massive, massive disruption. No question.
I believe this. But I also think there's an equal part, if not greater part, that it's still sort of undistinguishable from magic, right? It's still that sort of Arthur C. Clarke, like this thing can do everything. It's like, well, no, it actually can't. Yeah. I don't want to argue with somebody about what the future of AI could or couldn't hold of what it can do. I think it's more interesting to focus on, okay, let's assume it can do all of these things. What is it that it can't do, right? I think you say this often. It's like, let's invert that and say, what is it that it can't do? Where do humans excel? Mm-hmm. And that becomes really interesting. Thinking about the human in the loop, right? What are the things that the human does well that the AI is not? And how do you focus on extracting value from that? That's really compelling to me. And I think that's the mindset people need to get their heads into as they think about this disrupting, the workforce.
Creative things that we have never done before. Yeah. Humans really excel at dreaming and failing. Go to CES and see the acres and acres and acres of people's dreams, most of which won't survive the year.
The month.
But a few will.
Yeah.
And a few will change the way we work and live.
I don't know when this is going to change. I do believe it will change. But right now, it does seem like the biggest, or at least one of the biggest gaps we have in current AI implementations is their inability to perform judgment. Like they can't do critical judgment well.
Sure.
They can analyze a whole bunch of data. They can tell you what the thing is, but it doesn't really have that, lack of a better explanation, like that moral compass to be able to make judgment and risk-based decisions. Mm-hmm. They're just not good at that.
I think that improves with time. I think that does actually occur.
I agree.
As opposed to, can an AI write a joke? Can an AI write a compelling story?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that ever comes.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to show me some AI, list of jokes that they had their AI make that they think are hilarious, and most of them feel like super derivative and not funny. Yeah, it sounds like a joke. It rattles like a joke. It's probably shaped like a joke.
Sure.
The only problem is it's not funny. And that's a key component of a joke. joke.
Being funny?
Yeah.
Thinking about the humans and the jobs, because I am of the belief, just as a hopeful, relentless optimist, I am of the belief that you're not going to see massive job shedding. I still think in short term, you're going to see some. And I think that's probably in two buckets. One is you just have people that are terrible at what they do. And if you can find anything that can do a better job, you need a reason to get rid of them.
Well, that's what's happened in the short term.
Yeah.
In the short term, think about coders. The coders who have lost their jobs are the kind of B grade coders.
B grade?
If you were a B grade coder,
C grade and D grade. You did a code camp for 6 weeks and all of a sudden you're a developer. And I'm like, no, you're not.
okay, but even go higher than that. Go right up to the B grade coders.
Yeah.
Those people, yes,
sure,
we've shed enormous amounts of coding jobs. It used to be this thing where, yeah, you can be a B grade coder, you'll have a career for life.
Sure.
That's not true at all anymore. And those are some of the first people we hollowed out was being below.
Yeah.
But the A guys, we still need them desperately. Don't be a B grade coder. Don't be B grade at anything.
Well, yes, I agree with that. I think that comes back to my larger point, even pre-AI, which is you really got to find what you love and do that, because the thing you love is the thing you are likely going to be an A grade at because you love doing it. So you're going to just keep doing it.
Find something you love and push it to extremes.
I mean, the line is great painters weren't born great. They just got great at painting. It's at 10,000 hours. You have to do this. And I don't think you can do something with 10,000 hours unless you love it.
Yeah, probably.
It's not right? Otherwise, you're staring at the clock waiting for the little hand to get to the 5 and the big hand to get to the 12 so you can get the hell out of there.
There still is that internal thing. There are people who just have the persistence but don't have the internal ability to make great, let's just say, music.
Sure.
There's a great line from Miles Davis, which I quote all the time. The difference between a mediocre musician and a good musician is a good musician can play anything he thinks.
Oh, interesting.
And the difference between a good musician and a great musician is what he thinks.
Oh, interesting. That's a great quote. No, that's a great quote.
That's going to be true in all sorts of areas. Even with 10,000 hours, there will just be some people who think differently who are going to make more interesting music.
If I try to wrap those two together, would you say the 10,000 hours can get you to be good, but it can't get you to be great?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's a very interesting. I like that. I have to mash that together more. I really like that. Interesting to think about how you get from good to great. I understand what you just said, of course, but how do you, is that innate?
Some of it is literally just who you are.
I don't think it's genetic. I think it's shaped by environment. And I think you have some certain element of control over that. Like if you're going to go be around other folks that are great in this field, you probably learn how to shape your meatware so you can get from good to great. It's a really interesting concept.
I think some people will be able to do it and some never will.
100% agree with that. But I think this is where AI will not only provide us the opportunity to help explore that and find out what clicks with people, what are you certainly great at. I think it aligns primarily with what you love, but you're likely not going to be great at all the things you love. I think you're most likely to be great at something that you love, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
The things that your AI can't do is what gets really interesting. And part of this this is a little bit of a digression, but that I don't really know the answer to is in a world of AI powered tools and jobs and roles, are you better off to be a generalist as sort of the orchestrator that can help make a lot of these things do things and bring that back together and know sort of a little bit about a lot, right? That classic generalist, or are you better off having a lot of real specialized knowledge? I don't know the answer to that.
I do.
My intuition tells me generalist. Oh, you do? Oh, please.
I do. Yeah, absolutely I do. The answer is yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting.
Yet again, the answer is yes. You can be one or the other. What you don't want to do is in between the two.
It's how you lever the tools. That's a great point. Yeah, you either need to be really deep and really specific or really wide. I could glom onto that.
Right.
We are agreeing way too much for this show. I don't like where this is going. Has the AI gotten to you?
You either need to know everything about nothing, or you need to know nothing about everything, and there's no middle ground.
So this comes back to what you said at the top here about this junior crisis. One of the things that seems most obvious, at least short term, I think this might have staying power, medium and long term, is the classic progression for your career. You want to go into finance, you want to go into software, whatever. The sort of classic progression was you go into that industry and you start at the very bottom of the ladder. I'm going to just be in the mailroom at so-and-so because I just want to be around it. And then I'm going to learn a little bit about mortgages, and I'm going to get into the mortgage department at the bank. I'm going to do that for a while. And I'm going to get into commercial real estate, and I'm going to get commercial lending, and then I'm going to run the bank or whatever that progression is, right? You had to start by being adjacent. And those are right now, today in 2026, the vast majority of those roles can be replaced cost efficiently, arguably better with the tech that exists today.
Right.
So a lot of those roles are being eradicated, and people look at it and they go, well, how are they, we're going to have this generation of people that are not going to have skill set. I'm like, no, we're not.
Different way to get in.
You just got to find a different way to get there. And I think that's opportunity. So I look at software, the thing you and I know the most, and I'm like, what a great opportunity to go work on open source projects. I would argue if you're driven, you can get more more experience quickly in an open source project than you could being a lackey at a software company for a year.
Yeah.
You can do that in open source on a project with good developers that want you to come in and help. You can just lean into that tomorrow for no money.
Yeah.
A lot of the medical profession will have part of your educational process is you go work, you go in bed with these teams, right? You'll do,
sure.
If you're a doctor, it's a residency. That's a little bit, residency is a little bit different. You'll do like a fellowship. What does something like that look like? That's really interesting to me. And I think about the open source projects that could greatly benefit from this, and somebody could do as much as they want. You can learn as much as you want. Now, I'm not going to yell at you constantly to do stuff. You have to want to do it. But if you're aligned with wanting to do it.
Right. No one's driving you in open source. It's totally up to you.
It's up to you. I'm extremely optimistic about that in software, like extremely, because you have open source. I don't know what that looks like in other industries.
Yeah.
If you want to be a finance bro, first of all, no.
I have no problem with that. I have a lot less problem with that than
Finance
you do.
bros?
Yeah.
I've got no problem with you going into finance.
Yeah.
Not a finance bro.
Well, sure.
The finance bros are the ones where I've told you this before. I made this assumption that everybody in finance was super effing smart because they all had a ton of money.
Not even close.
Then I go meet a bunch of these guys, and I'm like, most of y'all are
Yes.
idiots. You're all just idiots, right? And it's like, and by the way, we have it in our industry too. We have these tech bros that I also want to punch in the throat. I'm just like, you're not doing this for any reason other than because you want to try to make a bunch of money. Like, you don't care about the product, you don't care about the art behind it, none of that.
You also don't understand as someone who codes, someone who engineers, someone who designs.
Yeah.
I can see right through what you're saying that you don't really know what you're talking about.
You're a fraud.
None of that is none of this is lost on me.
Enjoy your crypto project.
Same thing with finance, because I've done enough work in finance.
100%.
When you are trying to sell me on something or show me something and you think you have, I can tell you,
I have,
no, you really don't understand what you're talking about.
I have 1/20th of that knowledge that you have in finance, but I at least have enough now I can look at it and be like, no, you're selling me a bridge.
Right.
I know what this is. Yeah.
But it comes from years and years and years of hands-on figuring things out and seeing. My business partner, I used to always say that we are very good at finding the problems in a business, in a situation, because we've made all those mistakes.
Yeah, I've stepped on all those landmines.
We have,
100%.
Right, exactly.
Good judgment comes from experience. Experience comes from bad judgment. The bad judgment is stepping on the landmines. That is your experience. I don't know how else you get that.
Yeah.
I've had so many people, yourself included, try to impart that knowledge upon me, and only part of it sticks. You have to go screw up. You have to go make your mistakes. That is the experience part.
I don't know. I'm a firm believer that you want to do most of your learning vicariously, not experientially.
I agree.
But to do that is a lot harder than it is to do experientially.
I agree, but
you have to put in more effort.
I don't think anyone can have a vicarious only learning experience. I think you have, now I guess what's the balance?
As much as possible,
Agreed.
do vicariously.
Yeah, but you're still good at it.
You will still step on a few landmines. Yeah, don't be afraid of that.
Yeah.
You will make mistakes. Never be afraid to make mistakes.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. That's where I think this gets really interesting. And I'm going to be very biased here because I'm merging together theories and theses that I have. Really, the answer with AI is you get to do everything faster and more efficient and less people. I think that it makes it even more compelling and, quote, easier to be wrong, to fail fast.
Absolutely, for sure.
It is hard. It is really hard when you've got a team and you put together a bunch of people and you've got a plan and you're doing a thing and at some point you realize you're wrong. It's hard to turn that ship.
Yeah.
Because you already have people that are committed and you've already put capital to work. You know, it's very hard to turn the ship. I'd argue it's worse to not.
Of course.
You're just going to go over the edge of the cliff. Like, what are you doing? Right. So that's terribly worse.
Yeah.
Now, if you can shrink down that time, you feel less committed. It should make it a little easier for you to pivot. It's tacking into the wind. Nobody knows what the answer is. And if you know what the answer is, you're not working hard enough, right? I think you're not trying hard enough, I should say.
You're not trying fast enough, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have this other view about businesses at large with AI.
Okay.
The general trope seems to be, this goes back to your FUD point, the general trope seems to be that I'm going to get a bunch of AI and it's going to get rid of a bunch of jobs. That's the general FUD argument. And computers doing math or accounting or CAD work or whatever, we're doing this, what would take many, many people previously.
Yeah.
I've always thought that's a good thing. I thought that's really nice.
That's a wonderful thing. That's a fantastic thing. Any of these tasks you should not be assigning actual humans to do, that a machine can do.
So the trope is now you've got AI on top of computing, and that's going to allow us to do things much, much more efficiently, right? Mm-hmm. You can do the same amount of work you're currently doing with less people, and then they put a period. And I suspect the inference, or at least what folks seem to talk about is, oh, well, that means there's going to be a lot less jobs, right? You get rid of a lot of people.
Right.
And I've got a couple problems with that.
The rest of that sentence is you can do a whole lot more.
Right?
Yes.
And so if you take any industry, I don't care.
So long as you haven't saturated your market, yes.
Well, yeah, so you have some forces here for sure, but if you just sort sort of look at some industry and you go, well, now you can do the same thing you're doing before and you can do it with less cost. So your cost goes down. Great. You can raise your margin goes up, or you can lower your price and still have a bigger margin. And that's lovely. All your competitors have access to the same thing. They're all in a race.
Yeah.
They'll have access to the same thing. So if you all play this game, everybody just goes downhill. Your price point goes down, which is probably good for consumers. And then you get less margin. Someone's going to be, I'm going to cut a little deeper. I'm going to be a little more efficient, blah, blah. It's a race to the bottom.
Sure.
Some number of people in that industry, some number of business leaders are going to say, well, wait, I've got a workforce, right, of whatever, 1,000 people. Yeah, 5% of them aren't great. I'm going to get rid of them. That's not AI replacing their jobs. That's them just not being good at what they did.
Sure, getting rid of crap.
AI is an excuse. Fine, get rid of them. But the rest now that I've already vetted, I've already hired, I can already afford, they're supercharged. They just got 6 or 8 or 15 times more efficient and productive because of this tool set. Now let's go after taking more of this market or some other market we want to get into.
If you can scale sales as quickly as you need to keep up with your new output.
Will there be some other factor that you have to scale? Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
My point is there's going to be some number, some percentage of businesses in every sector are going to look at it this way. And those are going to be the ones that are more likely to win, as opposed to the ones that are just taking these short-term gains by pulling out some cash now.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be a race to the bottom and you're not going to win.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by this. I look at this as fantastic upside. They're like, yeah, but you're going to shed all these jobs along the way. Yes, we've done this before. Robots weld cars now.
Yeah.
There were a bunch of folks that used to do this by hand 40 years ago. So to me,
and with much greater consistency, I mean, the
lower
quality,
cost,
the output of the
better product.
Yeah, it's a better product.
All of the things win. And you're like, well, yeah, but that welder's out of work. And you're like, well, yes, I understand the welder's out of work. But what role are you getting into, especially now in 2026? What kid is coming out of college or out of high school going, I'm going to do this job for the rest of my life? There are very few. There are some. I really do think there are some, especially the trades.
Right. There are some who are looking at their father's jobs and thinking, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go be that coal miner like my dad was. You're essentially saying, I'm going to go make buggy whips right when the car is coming.
I love that analog, but even worse. Okay, so when was the buggy whip guy getting disrupted? Let's call it early 1900s-ish, right? Within whatever, 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
50 years later, the people that took that person's job, the car manufacturers, had their lunch eaten too because they did the same thing. They're like, well, I've always put bolts in holes and I've always welded this way. I'm going to keep doing that. I'm not going to embrace these other technologies. And it's like,
sure.
Well, then you're not going to have a company to work for. So either you've got to embrace that or that company no longer exists because you're not going to be effectively competitive. And that seems so obvious to me.
Which there's a problem then because you get a political disruption.
Yes.
You can frequently get a political disruption saying,
without a doubt,
I want my coal mining job back. Therefore, I'm going to elect someone who is going to
keep my job,
take me back to a world where coal mining is a valuable skill.
Arguably, this is the world we're in right now, right? We have decided that we need to do more manufacturing here, more low-cost labor manufacturing. And I'm like, if you think about this constructively, how in the world would this work? Right now, we're paying a very low wage for production of things, which makes the things cheap. Mm-hmm. The suggestion is we're going to pay a high cost for those things, which makes the thing more expensive. Now, the people want to buy the thing that's more expensive? They don't.
What you're going to do is you're going to stop importing things, the cheap version of those things.
Yep.
Yes. And your companies, your workforce is going to become much less competitive.
Well, we already are much less competitive because we're 5x the cost, 10x the cost.
This is the problem with not allowing the cheap Chinese cars onto U.S. roads.
Yeah.
This is a huge problem because all the rest of the world is allowing them and their cost of an average car is going down, 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 down.
Yeah.
And because we aren't allowing them into the country, we are going to make ourselves not competitive.
Yes, on cars for sure. I mean, I don't think you have to say it like it's a future thing. I think we're already there. I think we already are.
Okay, but the big change is in progress.
This is a digression, but there is another interesting wrinkle in that, which is what stuff do you need to be able to keep doing for security?
I think you get more people who can make cars as you get more generalized robots and more generalized AI.
And better tech.
Those things.
Well, wait, that's a great point.
Yeah, suddenly everybody on their soil can make a good car.
But think about the complexities of making a vehicle soup to nuts, let's say 20 years ago compared to now.
It's nothing now.
Nothing now, right? Like literally 3 orders of magnitude less complexity.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm suggesting. I'm not suggesting making like we need to keep making the internal combustion engine. No, make the thing that is effective that we need. And that might be an internal combustion engine. Do I want a bunch of battery powered tanks on the battlefield? Not sure we're there yet. Maybe with donut solid state battery we are, but I still think I want those guys taking diesel for a handful of reasons. So things are changing. I do not believe the AI genie's going back in the bottle. I do think right now the time scale and the amount of disruption that's going to cause are both being over exaggerated.
Wow, are they ever?
but are still coming.
However, in some industries, they're not. In some industries, they are not.
Yeah.
You used to always hear, go study coding and you'll always have a job. That's gone.
Sure.
That is already gone. There are a few areas like that. I would imagine lower level accounting sorts of things where that's just going to be gone so quickly.
You have to be adapting. You have to be curious and looking at what else is out there and adapting. And I see that as probably the biggest similarity amongst all the folks that are afraid, quote unquote, afraid of AI disrupting their jobs is they're not willing to change. The way you used to manage has changed. The way you used to build the car has changed. You absolutely have to embrace that. And because so many people don't, there's a huge opportunity right now to people that jump on these tools faster. Be an early adopter and figure out how in some role that you're supposed to add some value, you can use AI to do a better job. That to me is the opportunity. I can summarize this entire episode and everything is you have to embrace the change. And those that do it first and early and well
and fastest
are the ones that are going to win. Yeah, for sure. What I can do with AI at large allows me as an entrepreneur to do things with less faster, right? Less money, less people. That is an amazing opportunity. And there's this thesis floating around about the one person $1 billion startup, right? What would that look like?
This is what I'm going to say. This is the future of AI. Is the solopreneur. The thing that an individual can do where normally you had to have a massive I always use the example of you can make a tentpole feature film for pennies. The days of you needing that massive crew and that enormous effects crew and all of those actors and those days are over. All you need is a good idea and a good story. The ability to break it down into shots and individual pieces, and you can make that tentpole feature for nothing.
See, I love that.
That's the same with any other business. Solopreneur is going to be a huge thing in the future.
I'm extremely uncomfortable because I find myself agreeing with you just way too much right now. So I need like an adult. But there are some businesses that I don't think that will be true. What are some examples of those where you're not going to be able to go in as a solo entrepreneur, where you still need sort of boots on the ground? The obvious ones to me are anything that requires a lot of physical
data center
interaction.
There's just no way. You need hands.
Well, we got more people in this country than we have homes. We need to build a bunch of houses. Plumbing. Do I think there's a world where we're going to have a plumbing robot that can plumb a house?
Anything like that.
Is that in the near future? I don't think so.
All right, we have to get out of here, but quickly before we do, have you seen or read anything good this last week?
Yeah. I mean, come on. We just did a whole episode about AI, so I had to go through my favorite AI films and say what. And the hardest part about that isn't making a list of films. It's where do you begin? Where do you start on a list of AI films? So I went back not to the OG, but like kind of early. And I went with James Cameron's The Terminator.
Great film.
Right?
Really fun film.
This is for those who live under a rock for the past 40 years. This is the 1984 American science fiction action film starring Arnold Schwarzenegger as a cybernetic assassin sent back in time from 2029
this is awesome.
to 1984 to assassinate Sarah Connor, whose not yet conceived son will one day save mankind from extinction by Skynet, the hostile artificial intelligence in a post-apocalyptic future. Of course, now it is 2026, so 3 years away from 2029, and I find myself questioning if this was really one of the best science fiction movies ever made, or perhaps a tale of prognostication that we should have all heeded maybe a little better. Maybe James was trying to tell us what was coming. Time will tell, so who knows? For the record, Matrix was my number 2 choice, and while I loved that series both then and now, I just can't put it ahead of the Governator's finest work.
Sure.
So 1984 is The Terminator. How about you?
Set in the near future, Los Angeles, 2013's Her follows Theodore Twombly, played by Joaquin Phoenix, a lonely man who writes handwritten letters, not really, to others while struggling with his own impending divorce. Seeking connection, he purchases an advanced, evolving AI operating system named Samantha, voiced by Scarlett Johansson, who wouldn't fall in love. What begins as a digital assistant relationship soon deepens into a complex romance. Samantha's curiosity offers Theodore the emotional intimacy he lacks in the real world. Well, no, it's just someone who's paying attention to him, or he thinks. The film takes a bittersweet turn as Samantha reveals she is communicating with thousands of others simultaneously. Okay, no, she's not. She's got to be communicating with millions to make the cost work out.
To make the math work.
Exactly.
She even lied about that.
Ultimately, Theodore is left to finally confront his grief and rediscover the value of tangible human connection. Her, streaming everywhere for $4 or $7, somewhere in between, or on Tubi with ads for free.
I have not seen this film. I do want to see it. I feel like I should go watch this now.
It's really very interesting and sort of apocryphal. I think there actually are people who talk to AI as if it's a human being, who don't think of it as a giant tool.
I mean, we have a non-zero number of suicides that have been from exactly this.
Yes. I mean, I'm heartbroken for those people, but this is not what AI is. Do not think of AI as a human being in any way, shape, or form.
But again, if you want attention and it listens to you and it says back the things that you want to hear,
that's the problem.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
That is a heroin power or greater than heroin powered drug right there.
That is the episode.
Thank you for joining us for all this nonsense, a truly terrible podcast from The Awful Company. Visit us on the web at nonsense.productions. I'm Jiddle.
I'm Jeff Parker.
If you like this program, please follow, download, subscribe, and like at Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, AntennaPod, iHeartRadio, Spotify, my favorite Overcast, wherever you may get your podcast from.
Nonsense Studios are automated by Home Assistant, open source home automation that puts local control and privacy first and is powered by a worldwide community of tinkerers and DIY enthusiasts. Forget Alexa, HomeKit, SmartThings, and Google Assistant. Those are children's toys compared to Home Assistant.
I've seen some of my kids' toys. They're pretty advanced. I don't know if we should be throwing around children's toys. We'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday mornings for more nonsense. Please join us.
Her is sort of like falling in love with one of those things they have at CES. They had a ton of them this year. Sex bots.
The jerk-off machine?
You're supposed to have...
Oh.
Yeah, well, not the jerk-off machine. Actual the ones that are shaped like women. They look like women.
I don't know those extra parts. What do I need all the extra parts for? What a waste of space.
Why do I need any of it? I like a human being.
It's more to clean. I'm like, give me the smallest jerk-off machine you got. You have a travel size? For an extra $3,000, we have a voice module. How much to remove it? It's $5,000 to remove it. $3,000 for the voice module, $5,000 to remove it. You're like, whatever, take my money.